you've ever asked yourself, how can I get the swing and the golf game that I've always imagined without trying every tip, every training aid, watching every video after video on social media, then this podcast is for you. Welcome. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagen Golf Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Imagen Golf and PXG. All right. Good morning, Imagination. I am blessed today to have Mark Chantal. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Daniel.
I am super excited to have you on the podcast. Mark and I never met in person, but I feel like I've known him for probably a couple of years now because I actually used one of his products a long time ago and couldn't find a manufacturer. So it's amazing that we come full circle. But Mark is the owner, inventor, founder, president, whatever you want to call him, of a product that used to be called Mirror Tea, but now is called Pickup Tea. It's an amazing product, especially given that the tee space, if you would, in other words, how many golfers don't even give any credibility or give any thought to what tee they use, how they use it, and all that. And Mark's going to talk about, why you shouldn't do that, why we should, flip the script, if you would, and actually how important the selection of tee that you make really has in your overall golf game. Well, first of all, Mark, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you even got into this space?
Well, as a kid, they threw me in the machine shop. I was in an industrial area, and at that point, one day I was playing golf with a few friends of mine, and one of the guys that I was playing with, his dad owned the course, and we got done playing, and we're down in the basement where the equipment was. And he's complaining up a storm that he can't find any kids in the neighborhood to pick up the broken wooden tees. And
Right.
I'm standing there. I'll never forget. I'm standing there. I'm thinking, my God, that's a lot of trees
Yeah, man.
worldwide. So I go into work the next day. On my lunch hour, I grab some material off the stock shelf, glass filled Delrin, a couple other things, and I'm making teas. And I realized I had to hollow it out to lighten it up. And
Right.
I took out all the material I could. I gave it a mirrored 45-degree angle ball seat, linear edge ball seat. And at that point, I added a holder for the golf bag, a Cylum light stick for night golf, and you name it. But so what I did was I ended up just for the heck of it going to a patent lawyer, and the the patent lawyer actually he starts telling me about how much it cost and the whole process. And I'm there. My son was young. That was the middle '90s, and
Right.
my son was young, and we skied a lot and everything. I just couldn't afford that. So he says, "Hey, I'll tell you what." He says, "I'm a golfer. I like what you're doing. I'll do it on my way into work and my way home from work for half price." I says, "Sign it. Let's go." So we did. And at that point, 11 months later, the patent office came back to us with an official action of no. They felt that the pointed ball seat would have been obvious. And at that point, my patent lawyer said to me, he says, "Mark, take this home." They just about threw every patented golf tee at you from the beginning of golf. So I read it all, and everything happened for a reason. I'm at a buddy of mine's house, and a brand new house. The foundation, the door wasn't even on the foundation yet, and I'm moving his golf bags in, and I hit the balls, and all the balls fall out. So I end up picking up all the balls, and I'm looking at a brand new ball from Titleist, the Cuboctahedral dimple pattern ball that come out in the spring of, I forget, '96, something like that, '97. So I'm looking at it, and I asked my buddy, I says, "Michael, can I have this?" And he says, "Sure, go ahead." So I take the ball and I bring it into the patent lawyer's office, and his name's Michael too. I says, "Hey, Michael, look at this." I toss it to him, and he's looking at it for a few seconds, and he says, "Points of contact." He says, "We have to file an amendment because this examiner, I feel, is inventing, and they're not supposed to do
Right.
that." But
So,
anyways,
Mark, let me stop you here. How
um,
long ago was this?
uh, this was '95, '96. I got the patent in '96.
96. So you backed up. I mean, you said a lot here, man. The the part about the tees all over the place can't be understated, right? I think a lot of people listening here don't even know that tees are a nemesis for a lot of greenskeepers, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
damage the blades of the mowers, and you would never know that, right? I mean, how in the world would you know that? But they absolutely,
Found it out that night.
yeah, exactly, right? And the point about the trees, man, again, can't be understated, man. I just preparing for the podcast today, there are 2.8 billion teas consumed in the United States alone. 2.8
That's a lot of trees.
billion, and
Yeah.
that's just in the US. Worldwide, the estimates are 2 and 3x. So you're can't be,
Wow.
that blew my mind, and again, I don't even think about it when I just leave my tea there, and throw it in the little container next to the tea box, right? So,
Yeah.
um, talk to us about, you got the patent, right? Talk to us about
Yeah.
how, it wasn't always pickup tea, right? You called it mirror tea, right? And
Well, yeah, it was the mirror tee because basically, when you look at a blueprint in a machine shop and you see mirrored angles on a blueprint that come to a
right,
point, you refer to them as
got
mirrored,
it,
hence mirror tee. It never resonated with the golfer. They couldn't connect it to golf.
right.
So, my son tells me, he says, Dad, he says, your market is retrievability. And I said, David, I said, geez, the everybody wants to hit a ball further and
No
straighter.
doubt.
That's from the get go of golf. That's the way it was, and so I'll never give up on
Right.
that. But he says your market is retrievability. So what I did was we engineered a pin to go down into the point. We changed the taper of the tee of the bore to accommodate engineered pin. It's a tiny little thing. You don't even know it's down
Yep.
there. And at that point, we put the strongest, smallest neo magnet in the United States into the air hole of the grip by way of a barbed rivet. And you hardly even notice it, it's there. Um, Dr. Elwell, Dr. Jerry Elwell, he's a PGA PhD. He studied golf balls for 20 years. He came into this, he came to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, he says, what I'm seeing here in this video, I'm not seeing anywhere else in the history of golf. And he wanted to help
Right.
me. Sure. So at that point, he just said, he wanted to know more about the testing that we had done. And I told him that my ex-partner used the Nike cavity back driver that only lasted about eight
The
months.
covert.
And it was the cavity
Yeah, I
back. It
remember.
was there was no weight behind it. Today, Dr. Elwell told me, he said, a center weighted, um, ring weighted driver with the new technology faces, he said our data could be 2 to 4% better. And when we do that, and I was talking to Gene Perenne at Golf Labs about a month ago, and he's just waiting. He says, I wanna see this because that video, there's nothing doing that.
Right.
And when something can improve the data across the board, backspin, side spin, ball speed, everything, when it's across the board, that's an improvement.
Alright.
And that's why Jerry
Yeah.
came and got involved with
So let me
me.
stop you there because I think again, you said a lot, man. Like, the there's a lot of technology behind the tee, right? It's not again,
Yeah,
I think a lot of people just put a tee in the ground because it holds the ball and they need that. And by the way, a lot of people on short or on par threes or short par fours, if they're not hitting driver, they don't even use a tee. And we did a whole podcast on that not too long ago. How ridiculous that is. Everybody and their mother needs to use a tee, right? Jack
yeah,
Nicklaus famously said air has less friction than the ground. So,
right.
you wanna use a tee, but talk to the, listeners about the advantages, what the tee does, right, for like you mentioned the video, we're gonna get to that in a second, but, give the average golfer, like, an idea of what the right tee or wrong tee or a different tee can do for them or what it can produce for them.
Well, I'm a
Right,
machinist, and as far as the TrackMan data and all that, Dr. Elwell told me that um, it's the magnets on the club changed the weight to a C5 to a C7 when we were using a screw, but now we're using a nylon rivet, so it's less than that. He understood all that stuff, but what we're finding out is nothing else is being kicked out from under the ball. No tee is being kicked out from under the ball. It's minimizing the downward ball expansion, and it's forcing it up the face. And at that point, it's got to be improving
Right.
MOI. Then it's lowering ball flight. It's actually increasing launch angle 0.6 degrees, and it's actually lowering the ball flight, making it wind piercing. And I remember my old partner. He came to me and he says, um, when I go out with my son, who hits the ball 275 on average, he I can walk to his ball with my eyes closed without this tee, quote unquote, is what he said to me. He goes, with this tee, I'm going 20 to 40 yards further. And he says, I want to help. And then he come into it. But he was national team coach to 6 countries. And he called me one day from, I think he was in Japan. And he says, hey, a buddy of mine is a director at the RNA, and he wants us to go here and get it tested. So we got it tested on the only robot allegedly to have the wrist action put into the swing, and I agreed to everything. I agreed to the driver that he wanted to use, only because maybe Nike was going to get in with it with us. But apparently, the data, and somebody tells me that the
Right.
club doesn't matter. The data is what it is. Now, with that being said, if you have a center weighted club where the weight is in the center of the face and so forth, and ring weighted, and they're a 15-year newer club face. At that point, the data has to be better. And Jerry Elwell said 2 to 4% he's banking on it. And um, I just feel that it's durable. People are coming, they're buying a pack of teas, and they're calling me 4 or 5 years later saying, hey, I need more teas. Yeah, but you know what? I don't mind that. There's a lot of people playing golf worldwide. If I can prove something's going to work and improve the game,
You're in. Yeah, you're
I'm
in,
never going to
right?
give up on
Um,
it.
so a couple things there, right? Like, so I started the podcast with saying we had never met before, but I'd used your product. I was telling Mark earlier that I had gotten somehow I'm pretty sure I got at the PGA show. I got a white version of his tee, and it intrigued me. It intrigued me because I remember seeing a video where you put the tee leaning forward, and that made a lot of sense to me because we're hitting the ball forward, and it just seemed to me like that was going to lessen friction. Like there's been a lot of claims over the years, Mark, as you know, like with different, I'm doing air quotes here, like performance tees that they reduce friction. Um, but none of them were leaning forward. So that resonated with me. The ball sat on it kind of cool. The tee always went forward instead of ricocheting backwards. And that just made a lot of sense. Like it felt like it was going to reduce spin, reduce friction, a better launch angle. And now we know with all the data and analytics that we have, all that is true about the product, isn't it?
Yeah, and the big thing for me that made the most sense to me is um, how the data shows 5 miles per
Right.
hour more ball speed. That has to be the tee being kicked forward. What
Yeah,
else
I'm
could
with you.
that be attributed to? And at that point, the launch trajectory, the backspin and side spin, and it's across the board, and it's just something I'm never going to give up on. And more and more people are getting behind it more. It makes more sense to more people, and at that point, all I can do is just keep moving forward. And thank God, people like you stepping forward
Yeah.
and being
Well,
intrigued
it's
by
an
it.
amazing
You know.
product, man. Um, Number 1, it lasts for a crazy long time. I mean, in the tee space, right? If there is a golf tee industry, and there is, some people think it'll be like, 3 to $5 billion by 2030. It grows every year between like 4 and 7% year over year. And plastic tees are the number 1 growing segment. So just on that alone, right? Forget the merits of the tee, the product, check, it does well, right? And then the fact that the
Yeah.
the ball goes farther, right? I mean, to me, if you look, I was in corporate America for 30 years before I became a golf professional. If you look at the marketing of golf clubs in general, right, it's always about distance. I mean, always about distance.
Yeah.
Every golf ball is about distance. Every
Yeah.
golf product is about increasing distance. So, the fact that you can tie that to this product, even remotely, another check, right? And then on top of that, I think the innovation
Well,
of putting it forward. Let's talk about that. I don't think a lot of students really appreciate that, but you're supposed to put this tee in the ground facing forward or away from the golfer, right? Towards the hole, if you would. And it's supposed to
yeah.
be around what, 17 degrees, you said,
Yeah.
or something like that?
Yeah, it's probably between, I'm gonna say, basically what I tell people, like on my old business card, it used to say, cup the ball and tee together in your hand, lean the tee closest to 17 degrees of forward lean, slightly release the ball. If the ball wants to fall off, don't rotate the ball, rotate it to pick
Right,
up new points of contact. And that's why I got the patent, and that's why it leans so far forward. Now, I get people that use this that are elderly that their hands shake. And I don't know how many people have come back to me and said, my wife loves the tee because it stays on, and you can feel it. The points of contact with this tee and the ball, you can feel it. It is defined, and at that point,
right.
that's an advantage. And I'm in the business now of proving this product beyond any reasonable doubt. And we just want to show nothing is doing this in
Yeah.
the history of the game.
Hey guys, it's Daniel here. Hey, thanks for listening first and foremost. Handicaps haven't changed in over 35 years for one reason and one reason only. Traditional golf instruction just doesn't work. So if you're serious about getting that swing and game that you've always imagined, take a look at our site, imagengolf.com. Join our members only club. Check out my video series or even take a virtual or in-person lesson with me. There is no one who's more passionate about making you better in the industry, and I guarantee you'll golf better, guaranteed, or everything is free.
And that's what's happening, and it's a hard sell, but, everything about it is positive, the data, the durability, the now you can pick it up without bending over, you're gonna save somebody a back injury. My god, it's a no-brainer, and we're getting more and more people behind it now, and it's guys like you that come forward and see something in this. Jerry Elwell came forward. He gave the tees to Johnny Miller. Johnny Miller told Jerry Elwell, he says, "Tell Mark," he says, "tell him I hit the ball long anyway, but the dispersion data I'm seeing makes
Yeah,
this a
there's
PhD product."
Yeah,
Quote
and
unquote,
that's an amazing
Johnny
testimony
Miller.
there, right? I just met Johnny Miller, at the US Open this year, so it's kinda funny that we're talking about him. But, back to the leaning piece of it, right? You would think if you're supposed to lean something forward, you would think that the tee would be slanted a little bit, meaning the cup, if you would, where the ball sits on, but it's not. And that was interesting to me because
No,
if you put it too far forward, the ball simply falls off. So you really can't do this
right.
incorrectly. Like you could have it teed up at 9 degrees. I get that. Instead of the optimal maybe 17, let's say that, right? But you can't have it at 27 because the ball won't stay, right? So to
Right.
me, that's almost foolproof, right? I mean, you get when you use the tee, you get a sense of what 17 degrees feels like when you put it in the ground. And to your point, I haven't done anything different. I tee the ball up the same for the last 45 years. I do the standard. I put the ball, and the tee in my in between my fingers, right? The tee's in between my middle fingers,
Yeah.
and I simply cup that and press it into the ground. With the pickup tee, I simply arc my or move my hand forward just slightly and press in that way just a little bit, and it goes right in the ground just like a regular tee. Everything is great, and I didn't notice any change in anything that I did. What I did notice is that I can always find my tee, right? Because it's a little bit larger. And by the way, they come in cool colors, right?
Yeah.
I saw a pink one, a green one. What other colors they come in?
Well, I've got right now we've got white, pink,
Orange, nice.
orange, a day glow orange, and It's a the orange is not good around
Yeah, yeah, in
if
the
you're in
fall.
New England, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got
yeah,
orange leaves on the ground. It's not good. But anyways, yeah, no, we can make it any different color, and it's one of these things where it's people are, oh my god, it's
yeah,
just growing slowly, and at some point here, it's going to get tested very well. And what I'm looking for now is, because we tested with that cavity back driver, I'm looking for a driver, a PXG. Everybody's
yeah.
telling me
Amazing.
PXG, and I don't know if
Yeah,
I hear it's a good driver, um, and I want to test with a quality driver. And at that point, then we'll know more about the product, and it's going to get tested every which way
yeah,
that you
yeah,
can on a robot. And we're going to know exactly what it does. We're not even going to do it in the wind, because Gene Pereni at Golf Lab says you got to be under 4 mile an hour wind, or
yeah,
else that's a variable. I says, I don't even want that variable. I'll go to a enclosed space, and we'll set that TrackMan up right there in the robot, because it's on wheels. And so yeah, we're going to cut out all the variables with this thing, and it's just all about making the ball go further, and now it's about
yeah.
making it easier to
Well,
play. And
I'm on staff
from
with
there, yeah,
PXG. I think you know. I'll talk to the guys and see if we can get you a driver. Wouldn't that be nice, right? Um,
I'd love to use PXG, because everybody I know, a friend of mine up the street here, he went to college in his late 30s on a golf scholarship, and he's a violinist for the New Hampshire Philharmonic, and he's
right.
pretty close to a pro, but he's 75 now, and but he loves the PXG, and he's telling me to use that, and I'd love to get that club, or any suitable club. I It's one of these things where I don't know about the Callaway driver. I everybody tells me the Callaway is better because there's a lot more of them out there. But I told you about the story, what happened to my ex-partner. He was pushing his son to golf colleges around the country, and Chip Brewer, the president of Adams Golf at the time, lived across the street from him in McKinney, Texas, and he moved to Callaway, became the president there. So Peter called me, and he says, "Hey," he goes, "I want to stop in and see Chip at Callaway. I want to show him the tee." So he brings the tee into him, tells him all the science about it, and Chip calls a club fitter in from another room, another building, and he comes in, grabs the tee, goes out, comes back a half an hour later. Chip and Peter are getting talking about old times, and he walks in. Peter told me, he said the club fitter walked in, didn't even look at him, and looked at Chip and said, "Wow." Chip said to Peter, "Can I have that pack?"
Very
And Peter
cool.
said, "Absolutely." And he says, "How big a mold you guys got?" And Peter said, 32 cavity. And Chip Brewer said to him, he goes, "If I'm going to give these to Phil, if Phil jumps into this, you're going to need two more of those molds just to keep up." And so at that point, I feel Callaway
Yeah,
already
yeah,
had
yeah,
their
yeah,
chance. Yeah, and I'd love to give the little guy, the little company, some notoriety like the PXG. I mean, those guys must have worked their way through all that conglomerate money,
yeah.
that the big companies have. And I mean, I don't know. I need the best club going, because when we get done showing this data, it's going to be there's going to be nothing that's going to put a
Yeah, let's
ball
talk about
further
that really
down the
quick. We
middle.
talked about
Nothing.
you had a video that kind of went viral there for a while, right? It was a simple close up, extreme close up of a ball being launched from one of your tees. And obviously, you see the tee do everything we said it would and more. It moves forward, not backward. The ball launches differently. The friction is different. Um, how'd that video come to be? And what was the reaction when it first was launched?
Well, we had no idea that the tee was being kicked out from underneath it until we got the slow motion video back. And so what happened was, we went in there, we tested two, three, four, I think four tees, four high performance tees.
Right.
I got all the videos. Um, and at that point, when we got the video back, we seen, hey, nobody's ever seen this before, but this is happening, because it dumbfounded us. And then when the data came out, it was across the board improved. And then from there, it's just one of these things where you have to market it. And marketing is, just one of the
No
most
doubt.
expensive things going. And I just everything's
Right.
free for me right now as far as marketing. I'm just doing it like the little guy would do it. And but the data is the data, and that's not going to change. And now that, thank God, we have TrackMan and Flight Scope and all of that to point this stuff out, because we didn't know this way
Yeah.
before that. But going from there, I think guys like you have all that equipment. You're going to be able to see when that dent on that tee from your driver is in the same place as that video. Your data is going to
Yeah,
be
there's no doubt. I
different
mean, we
from.
talk about it all the time on the lesson team, man. Like, it's a really cool time if you embrace it for instruction, because at the end of the day, there is no more he said, she said, right? There's not, oh, this student's doing this and this guy thinks he's
Yeah,
doing that and this other instructor thinks the same student's doing something else,
yeah,
right? It's 100%, chartable. It's 100% trackable and 100% measurable.
yeah,
So if the instruction piece that
yep,
embraces that, the student gets better quicker. And the equipment side, never before has there been this much data, right? And if
no,
look, is it going to take you from a 20 handicap to a 10? Probably not, right? But is it going to allow you to play your best
no.
golf? It absolutely will, right? So if you get a little bit advantage here and a little bit advantage from equipment and a little bit advantage from an instruction piece, if you would, before you know it, you're a better golfer. So why wouldn't you, right, engage in it, right? Um,
Oh, I get the biggest thing that I get from people is the people that play in windy conditions. There's a
that's
few guys that
interesting,
play in Hawaii a lot, and they told me, they said, "I can't play with anything else here. The ball flight is much lower, it's more piercing." My old website had all those people on there. I had a guy on my old website that was an engineer, and he said, "Finally, we figured it out. Finally, this is how you get the transfer of energy of what's going on at impact and so forth." And it was great, but that was a .com thing, and that isn't cheap. And so now I just had to regroup, and
yeah.
I'm doing it the
Well,
cheap way.
I think you're doing it.
The product,
Let's
the
call it the
product was getting
legitimate way,
better.
right? Let's call it that, right? Um,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
before I let you go, man,
yeah.
there are some competitors out there, right? There is a performance tee market, right? You got brush style tees, you have tees that claim are zero friction, you got tees with smaller heads. Talk to the difference between your product, right, and some of these competitors.
We tested them all. We tested all the ones you just described, and our data is above every single one of them, across the board
Right.
above every single one of them. And at that point, that told us something. And I would love, if you want to test it, I'll send you the teas, my competitors' teas, and if you want to test it, and if you can document when that driver hits that at that identical point as the robot did, and you want to document the data, it's going to be there for you, I'm sure, because it was there for us on the very
Yeah.
first time we ever
Um,
did it. And they made me, when they tested my tee, the doctor that was doing the test in England, he told me, he says, "I need a device that's going to tee your tee up." So I had to go in the machine shop and make a dovetail device at 17-degree angle that stopped the tee at the same spot every time, and nested the tee, stuck it in, and then all they had to do was remove this
right.
thing, and the tee was there. And they didn't want no differences. Now, I don't know what they did for a regular tee. What they do, take a tape measure, um, whatever. But they put us through the mill to test this thing, and but we came out on top, and that's a good thing. And it's just, I'm the little guy. It's one of these things where I just tell the truth, and people listen, and they
Yeah.
understand it, and
So I'm
going
I'm
from
I have
there.
no interest in testing golf tees. So I have so much other time, so little time on my hands. And by the way, I've used all those other products, and I don't buy it. I
Yeah.
didn't notice a single difference in any of the competitors that I mentioned, right? I found some of them to be
Yep.
gimmicky at best, right? Um,
Yep.
and
Yep.
definitely the durability was not there. So even if they worked like they said they worked, the durability would have been a problem for me. And then I start using your tee on a whim, and I didn't even know, to be honest, that there were different performance challenges or differences. All I knew was that it was cool looking, right? It had, uh, a
Mm.
different profile to it, and my ball went farther and straighter. That's all I knew. That's all I needed to know,
And it
and it saved
and it
trees.
saved trees.
And it saved trees.
It saved
So, for
trees.
that, I was like, "Dude, I'll take this," right? And then the more I swear,
Yeah.
I told Mark earlier before the podcast, I used that tee for almost half a season, and that was back when I played 1 and 2 times a week. I used the same tee, right?
Yep.
In fact, it was so funny, man. I probably when I lost it, I remember where I lost it at a local course here, and I remember looking for it for, like, 5 minutes, and the guys are like, "Hey, man, it's not a ball, it's a tee." I'm like, "Hey, you don't understand, man. That's my lucky tee, man." So, but anyway, listen.
Hey, the ironic I have a tee somebody sent back to me. They counted every impact from the driver,
Yeah,
3,062 impacts
yeah,
on this
that's
tee, and I
amazing,
have a
Mark.
picture
That's
of it. I'll
absolutely
send it
amazing.
to you.
Well, look, it's an amazing product, man.
But
Where can they get it? How much is it? Tell us about that.
well, what we're doing is, everything, and I mean the material. When I started using glass-filled Delrin, I we had to make the change to a nylon ABS, and we upped the IZOD notch rating to make it more durable, in the when they make the plastics. So, it's the same material that's on the bumper of your car, but it's a hollow design. It's a very durable design. It's the strongest design you can have. Um, and you go to, let's see, they're 12.95 for 2 tees that last up to 3, 4, 5 years. You're gonna save all kinds of golf balls because you're not gonna be out in the woods no more. You're gonna be more in the center fairway. Wind's not gonna be pushing you there. So the numbers all benefit it in saving balls, everything about it. And at that point, you're gonna like your game more. You're gonna play more. So it sounds a lot, but the process of our material, and we have to put this engineered pin down in the point for the retrievable tee. Um, at that point, the magnets are an issue where we're having a hard time sourcing them. And but I'm getting it done. And we're we're probably making the same money now with the magnets and the all the main whatever you got to do to put the pin in the tee and all that as
Yeah.
we did if I just sold the tee. So I still want to help people that are old that don't want to bend over anymore, and I'm getting a bigger response
Yeah,
from that.
and
To
what
be
Mark's
honest,
talking
I
about, it's
mean,
a little magnet goes on the
it
end of the, grip, if you would, of the driver, right? I tried it, this weekend, as a matter of fact. I played a virtual round where, in our sims, we have what's called real feel tee. You can or, real feel carpet. You can actually put a real tee. So I put the pickup tee in it. I hit it. It went forward about, I don't know, 5 feet, maybe 3 feet sometimes, and then you literally just turn the grip around
yeah,
and just get it anywhere near
yeah,
the tee, and it immediately, clings to it, and then, there it is. It's almost like the old ball picker uppers from the holes for the old men, right? Um, but,
right,
I know Mark and I
right,
talked about this before. I think that's a nice to have. I think the real juice, if you would, right, in the product is that it's just a better tee. It is in fact a performance tee. It lasts longer, the ball goes farther, spins less, all those things. For me, look, I'll figure out how to bend down. And by the way, at $12, right? At $12 for 2 tees, I think it's cheap. I think it's an amazing product that no one thinks about, that if they tried it more, they would absolutely think about it more, and I think you got something here, man, I really do, so, um
Well, mama says we can't drop the
That's fair,
price, so
man.
I
I
got to do
totally
what
get
she
that. Well,
wants.
Mark, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. What I'll do is I'm going to drop the video in the notes, and I'm going to drop your website where people can get it as well in the notes. And then I'll do a video on our YouTube channel around the tee as well, that I can match to the podcast as
Awesome.
well, so people can. Go ahead.
Well, it is pickupt.com,
Got it.
Pickktee, pickup,
Got it.
Pickup.com. So at that point, and it's done through Shopify and so forth. And I had all that .com websites and all that, and it just sucked money out of you. But
Well, listen, it doesn't matter, man, because
and
wherever it is, I feel like, this is a tipping point for you. Not necessarily because 'cause you're on our podcast, but that would be great if that was the tipping point, but I think it's a good.
I think it
Thanks, man.
is, Daniel.
I think it's great.
I,
I think it's
I
great
think it
timing,
is.
right? Like we said before, never before has there been more data, right? Never before has the consumer had access, the consumer being the golfer, had access to more data. The golfers are getting younger, i.e., more data centric, right? And it works, right? So I think for all those reasons, you're onto something, Mark. And I wish you the best. I'm sure we'll have you back on, and I'll let you know. Mark was gracious enough to send me a couple teas, so they're already in my bag. I already shit canned all the other teas I had in my bag, and I only got two of them in there right now, which is kind of funny, man. I got two teas in my bag. That's it, right? Instead of the 25 or 35 that I normally have in my bag. So I'll report back to you on how it's going. And again, Mark Chantal. Mark is from pickupt.com, and his product is just that, the pickup tee. Mark, thanks a lot for doing this. All right, then. That's today's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our site, imagengolf.com. Check out our YouTube page at Imagen Golf, and we're on all the social media platforms. I'm the same at Imagen Golf. And here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined. Hey, Daniel here. Look, let's be honest. We all have that one or two golfer in our lives who is one bad round away from throwing a club, snapping a shaft, or even worse than yet, buying new clubs for a bad golf game. Or maybe even that golfer is you. This holiday season, stop guessing and start getting better. Right now at Imagine Golf, we're offering up to 20% off all golf lessons and gift cards through the end of the year. Whether it's a single tune-up or a full season transformation, give the gift of lower scores and more fun on the course this year. Because at the end of the day, a better swing lasts way longer and a better game than just a box of balls. Visit imagengolf.com today and grab your gift cards and save. Imagine Golf, because golf just doesn't have to be that hard.